ये नहीं ओपन किया गया नोट। Okay, so should we start? Yes. So yes, what do you find interesting in the newspaper today? Obviously interesting is Mr. Trump. Yes. So what's happening in case of India and US relationship? Something is happening, and now we have read so many things about it till now. Tariffs. US is putting tariffs because we are having good relationship with Russia. So are we going to stop our relationship with Russia because USA wants? No? Why no? See, Russia doesn't have money. USA has money, lot of money. So you'll go with person who is gonna give you a lot of money and support you in doing whatever you want to. Balance. Balance is not possible now. In marriage, do you have any balance? You either marry or you don't marry. You don't have that option that we will have you also, you also. Not possible now. So it's difficult. We don't trust. We are trying to trust USA, but sometimes people like Trump come and they show us that we should not trust them. But as far as Soviet Union or Russia is concerned, we trust. That is one major factor. Okay. So let this news continue. We'll see what happens. Anything important on first page? Nothing as such. Okay, so we'll directly move to this editorial part wherein they're talking about Bangladesh. Any idea why we are talking about Bangladesh suddenly today? Because in last few days there was no news, nothing as such from Bangladesh. Nothing that is very concrete, very important for us. Yes? Yes, do you know Bangladesh? Yes, thank you. Where is Bangladesh? Here on the eastern side. Okay, good. So is Bangladesh very important country? Average or not so important? Not so important. Who said? Not so important. Suddenly they will send some people in Assam, in West Bengal, in Northeast. Then you will understand how important Bangladesh is. Azad Northeast in 2 days with support of Bangladesh. Yes, not so important. No, no, no. Comes under very important category. So whoever is your neighbor, that neighbor is very important. Okay, important in many terms. Number one, right now, all the countries we call them as nation states. Right? India is a nation state. Bangladesh is a nation state. Pakistan is a nation state. USA is a nation state. When you check the definition of nation state, okay, go and try to read that definition at home. One particular feature is mandatory in this definition of nation state, and that is territory. That is, when we say territory, we mean that boundary part. That boundary part matters to countries. Okay. Now in nation states, you will certainly find this issue of border disputes. So we have border disputes, and we will have border disputes with only those countries with whom we share the border. And the chances of dispute increase with those countries with whom we share long border. Okay. Now what do you think? Which country out of all the neighbors we have, with which country we share the longest border? So with whom our chances of conflict are more? Logically. Although this is not the real case, there are many other dimensions, but logically we can say yes, chances are high. Okay. Now if you see India-Bangladesh relationship, how do you look at this relationship? Is it a good relationship till now, from the beginning? What is the beginning? 1971. Very good, because that is the year of birth of Bangladesh. There was no Bangladesh before that. It was just East Pakistan, right? So how is India's relationship with Bangladesh? If you see the year of 1971, good, bad, average. Don't say good just because you want to. You must know this. So the relationship was very good. Reason being, even India played an important role in the Bangladesh freedom struggle. Okay, rather we played the major role because of which they got independence, otherwise they would have not. Right? Now, at that time, the party or the leaders of that time in the Bangladesh, that region, the person who was leading everyone, that was Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Okay, his party then came to power just like India, like Indian National Congress then became the powerful party after the freedom struggle or after the independence. Similarly, in Bangladesh, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, he became the main person or the president, you can say. Now, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's tenure completed. He was killed. So many things happened in Bangladesh. But now you see his daughter, her name is Sheikh Hasina. Okay. She has been ruling in Bangladesh, or she was the Prime Minister of Bangladesh for 4 terms. She was the longest serving, we can say. She was the longest serving Prime Minister in Bangladesh. Okay, till now. Till which year? Till 2023. So today is 5th of August. If you go 2 years back, 5th of August 2023. That was the year we suddenly got a news that some dangerous protest started in Bangladesh, and suddenly Sheikh Hasina is left with no other option but to fly away from her country. Now fly away, where will she go? She'll come to India, so she came to India, right? So suddenly we saw change in the politics of Bangladesh, because you have one person who is there as Prime Minister for 4 terms. 4 terms is a big deal, right? Modi ji completed 4 terms? No, not yet. So she is more successful as compared to Modi ji. So quite you can see a kind of stability to some extent. India and Bangladesh were having really good relationship when Sheikh Hasina was in power. Okay, but now we don't see that happening. And this will happen every time when there will be change in the domestic politics, change in the party. Because of that, there will be some changes in the relationship with other countries also. Okay, so you'll see that every time. Let's say even you look at India-Pakistan relationship. Although we always had bad relationship with Pakistan. Yes? Near? Okay, you can talk about Maldives is a good example. Said that party changed in Maldives and suddenly relationship changed. So this keeps on happening. This is nothing new. This happens. So we are always concerned about it. And India will always want that. The government that comes in power in the neighborhood countries, that should be supportive of Indian government, or at least have good relationship. Okay. Now, Sheikh Hasina has been removed, and right now we have this Muhammad Yunus government. It's a caretaker government. It's not an elected government as such. No election has taken place. Caretaker government has been formed over here. Okay, with support of some political parties. Now here is a problem, because when you're running a country, what you need is one thing, that is legitimacy. If people don't want you to run the country, it becomes difficult for you to run. Even when you look at North Korea, yes, do you think people of that country want him to rule? But he will try to maintain that thing. He will try to convince them that I should rule. Okay, that's why he conducts election. Why does he need to conduct election? That's a different case. 99% votes will be for him. In no democracy we see this happening.
Specifically,
right? Modi ji is struggling to get 30%, 40% votes. He gets 99%. So that is a different thing, that those elections are fake and all that rigging and everything is happening. But the point is, we need to have legitimacy in the eyes of people to stay in power. Sheikh Hasina had that legitimacy, but she lost that legitimacy with time. And there are many reasons. There were elections taking place in Bangladesh. She got elected through elections, but she did many things which were problematic. For example, the last elections of 2024 which took place, not 2024,
దాన్ని ఎగ్జామ్ లో అడుగుతారు. ఎలా అడుగుతారు అంటే రీసెంట్ గా మనకి హిమాచల్ ప్రదేశ్ లో క్లౌడ్ బస్ట్ అయ్యింది. సో క్లౌడ్ బస్ట్ అంటే ఏంటి, దాని వల్ల వచ్చే ఇంపాక్ట్స్
Sheikh Hasina did, she
సో ఏంటంటే ఒక సబ్జెక్ట్ సబ్జెక్ట్ ఏం కాదు,
ensured that only she is participating in elections. Actually the situation was so tense that the main opposition party, they said we are not participating in elections. Now just imagine the same case in India. What will happen if one major party doesn't participate in elections? So the other party will win. But do they have the legitimacy? When you talk about entire country and one party governing it, you need legitimacy. At least people should accept that you are the ruler, right? That's the basic tenet of democracy, that the party or the people who even do not like you, they did not vote for you, but still accept that okay, we followed the process and you won. That's very important. If people don't accept, then that is problematic. Then there won't be any democracy. It will fall. Okay. Similar things we observed happening in case of Bangladesh, or Sheikh Hasina to be more specific. Now these are the major criticisms about Sheikh Hasina's regime. Number one, she was very authoritarian. She tried to weaken the opposition parties, opposition members, and she tried to centralize all the power with her. That is one thing. This is something we hear about many politicians. Second is election issues. So in many elections we found that some unfair means were being used, some kind of wrong practices being carried out just to get elected. Okay, so this is one problematic thing. Then media suppression. She brought some acts like this Digital Security Act and all, although we don't need to read about those acts, but some acts which try to curb the freedom of media. Why do they try to curb the freedom of media? So that you don't speak against the government, that government is doing something wrong. When you don't speak, how would people know that you're doing something wrong? Right? Human rights concern, when you take some actions, let's say you suddenly detain someone, you arrest someone, you go for some kind of torture, custodial violence, all those things. So these are human rights concern. Control over judiciary also. Even judiciary or the institutions, they were not autonomous or independent to take actions. And there were many allegations of corruption against her. Okay, these are the major criticisms. Now, if I look at the good side, this is the negative image that we are looking at. Look at the positive side that she brought in. Number one, the political stability. Okay, you see, the neighbors of India, every country nearby India, they say we are democracy, right? But do you see real democracy? Pakistan also claims they are democracy. Myanmar also says, yes, Bangladesh also says. But do you see democracy in real spirit? Yes, hardly we see that. In most of these countries, you will observe something called as overdeveloped state, or you don't need to remember this term. It's like there is some association or some body which has become very powerful. In case of Pakistan, it is their military, right? Their army, you can say. Army controls everything. They'll decide what will happen. Yes, similar thing is there in Myanmar also. Yes, they name it as junta. And they control, they have substantial political power. But if I compare Myanmar with Pakistan, it's Pakistani army which is more powerful. Because they can do whatever. If there is a judgment being given and if judge is giving one judgment against an army person, then army vehicle will come and take him. Anything is possible in Pakistan. So this is a problem. Now in such an environment, even similar problem is there with Bangladesh also, but still when it comes to Sheikh Hasina, she ensured that there is no military rule. At least there is some democratic spirit and there is political stability. So the role of military has been reduced to a good extent from Bangladesh because of her. Okay, then good thing which one must agree, this economic growth with the stable government she had formed. So 6 to 7% of growth rate in the GDP. She worked on the textile sector, digital Bangladesh, all these things. So economically Bangladesh was doing good. Good thing. Then poverty reduced. Obviously if economically doing good, then poverty will be reduced. Women empowerment has been observed. many schemes on health, literacy, all these things, and most importantly for India, our ties with Bangladesh got developed or have become really better in the tenure of Sheikh Hasina. Okay, most importantly, we had this land boundary agreement, if you can see, in the year 2015. So we sorted out this land boundary dispute to a good extent, which is very tough. We're not able to do this with China. Yes, but we did this with Bangladesh. Some villages or some parts we gave to them, some parts they gave to us. Somehow they sorted out. So this lady and Modi ji, they decided that we'll sort it out with one agreement in 2015. So that's how we see the relationship with India is good when there is Sheikh Hasina. And now obviously because of change of power, we don't see that happening right now. Okay. Now what has happened in case of Bangladesh is something you just need to observe and look at India. What all we need to learn from this. Now one thing is from the perspective of foreign policy. Second is just for our domestic policy. Now first thing, what has happened is this caretaker government which has come to power over here. First of all, it is not an elected government. Whenever there is caretaker government, what is the expectation from that government is you stay in power for let's say 3 months, 6 months, just ensure that elections are carried out. Once the elections are carried out, you go there, let them come. Even when we have elections in our country, what happens is there is system of caretaker government. Modi ji will become caretaker prime minister for some time, or some such a system will be established to ensure that elections are carried out. Are you getting this point? But what this government did, they are pushing the election dates. They're just postponing the election dates. They don't want to do elections. And a caretaker government is not expected to come up with any big law, any reform, any major change in the constitution, nothing, because that is an expectation from the elected government. Right? But what they are doing is we will first carry out some reforms. They are saying first some reforms are needed. After that we'll do elections. Okay. And here the judiciary of this country, that is Bangladesh, they are, instead of taking action against all these incidents, rather they are covering all this incident. So this is something we need to learn for India's constitution and constitutionalism. So you need to understand the role and importance of judiciary in such cases. When such changes in political structures are happening, in that case, it is the judiciary which can play the major role. Otherwise, there is no other institution which can play the role. Yes? So if you remember the incidents of the time of emergency, right? At the time of Indira Gandhi, whatever incidents were happening and what kind of role judiciary played, we got this Keshwanand Bharti case, very famous judgment. So you can compare India's situation and you can compare it with what is happening in Bangladesh, and you can understand the importance of judiciary for us. Okay? Then without elections, when you're delaying the elections, now they're saying by December 2025 we will go for elections. Now that opposition party over there, when Sheikh Hasina was removed and all, the other opposition party felt that now we will come to power. They felt this thing. But that never happened because no election is taking place. That party is saying first carry out the election because they know they will come to power. Anyway, Sheikh Hasina is not here. Yes? So it is like complicated. And if you see the Yunus government, they're being supported by some radical groups. Okay? And those radical groups, many a times it has been observed that they are those individuals who were against, or their ideology is against the idea of creation of another Bangladesh. Rather, they supported the idea of Pakistan. Okay, so this is like changing politics in Bangladesh, turning towards the era of pre-1970. Okay, so interesting. This authoritarian trends we understand. Economic impact you need to understand. Because of all these events, what is happening with Bangladesh economy? We said when Sheikh Hasina was there, the growth was decent. Whatever she did, all the negative things will set apart, but economic growth was certainly there. So many investors were putting money. India was trying to have some long-term relationship. We were going for many projects and all. But now, because of this political instability, We don't know what will happen suddenly over there. Okay, because of this, what you will observe is economy will go down. There is high inflation rate, unemployment rate is very high. Yes, such things are happening. So not economically good. And if your neighbor is not economically good, is it good for our country? Rather, when Sheikh Hasina was in power, we were planning that we want to develop our northeastern part of India, right? But because when India wants to go to the northeast, we have a very small corridor to go, right? The easier way would be, let's say you want to go from West Bengal, or let's say from Delhi to some place in Mizoram. It would not be easy to go by Indian route. Rather, if you go through the Bangladesh route, it is much easier, right? So if we want that our northeast to grow, to become developed, because it is not a developed part as such, and that's why we see so many problems in northeast. One of the solution is the Bangladesh to develop. If Bangladesh develops, northeast also develops, and there is connectivity between these two. If these two are connected, then both can grow. And many times we see problems in a particular area are attached with the neighbors. You look at Kashmir, you look at Manipur, they are more or less somehow they are attached with the neighboring areas. Okay, so that's how we look at this thing, that this is not a good sign. Whatever is happening in Bangladesh is not a good sign, and that's why the writer is saying maybe we need to make some changes in our foreign policy with respect to Bangladesh, because the current regime or the opposition party which might come to power, both have the tendency to get in touch more with Pakistan and China rather than India. Only it was Sheikh Hasina and her party who was more supportive of Indian government or India. Okay, so these are the things that are happening. Just observe what is happening in neighborhood. Yes, any doubt? No? Next, missing link in India's battery waste management. So you see, right now we're talking about electric vehicles, right? Government is planning that we are going to make electric vehicles more and more, because we don't want to depend on these petrol, diesel, all these things. We want to reduce carbon emission. So let's go for electric vehicles. Now for electric vehicles, you need batteries. Mostly it is this lithium ion battery, right? It's the same battery that is there in your mobile phones also. Now you need so many batteries. When you're going for large scale production of electric vehicles, obviously you will need so many batteries, right? And the battery once used, or let's say it has been used for a long duration, after that it is a wastage for us. It's of no use. So this leads to this battery wastage. So imagine, because the quantity in which the batteries will be required and batteries will be thrown out, that will be very high. Okay, so this article specifically talks about this massive battery waste. So they have shown with this data that lithium batteries formed 7 lakh ton of India's 1.6 million tons of e-waste. So out of all the electronic waste, lithium ion batteries, they are playing major role. Okay, you don't need to remember this data. Now look at this. We have something called Battery Waste Management Rules 2022. Do you think they will ask question on this? Do you think they may ask? They may ask. Okay, because they asked, I think, about plastic waste management rules they asked, and some solid waste management rules they asked. So environment perspective, they might ask. You should know just at least the brief information you should have. Okay, now see, we have something called as Environment Protection Act 1986, under which government is supposed to take some actions to protect environment. So under this act, government brought these rules in the year 2022. After that, they also amended these rules in 23, in 24 also. Now, if you look at the major provisions of this particular rule, number one is about extended producer responsibility. Any idea about it? Extended producer responsibility. Have you ever heard? No? Okay. Now let's say someone has produced these batteries. Okay. I have a manufacturing unit over here. I have produced these batteries. You people bought it. You were customers, you bought it. Now you have used it, now you are throwing it. Now whose responsibility it is to collect this electronic waste or these batteries at a particular location, is it your responsibility or my responsibility or government's responsibility? You people will do nothing. So how come it's your responsibility? You're not going to come and let's say we have a center at one location in Hyderabad where if there's any battery you want to throw, you have to come here and put it over here because we will go for recycling. Let's say government says instead of throwing it out, we'll go for recycling because we can use many of the materials which are present in that battery again. It's a good thing. Will you go? You won't go. You will ask government to go. Government will say even we'll not go. Private sector will say why would we do? Now under these rules, what government said, it is the responsibility of the producer. Extended producer responsibility. It is the responsibility of the producer to collect that waste. Because you produce this, you made a lot of profit out of this. It is your responsibility to collect that waste. Getting the point? Collect it and give it to that unit who are going to recycle it. But that collecting part is not government's responsibility. They gave it to the producers. Clear? This is extended producer responsibility. Then there is a centralized online portal. Now what happens? You see the process how it takes place. So first, the producer will have one obligation. Government will decide that you have to collect this much of waste, that percentage amount and all. They will collect it and they will reach out to that agency who is going to recycle it. Okay? They will give it to them and this agency will have to provide something to this company or this person. So how it happens, we have something called CPCB board, Central Pollution Control Board. Okay, that CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board, they issue this certificate called as EPR certificate, Extended Producer Responsibility Certificate. Now they give this certificate to this facility who is going to recycle it. Okay, they will check how much of the content you have recycled. Then by calculating that, they will give the certificate to them. And now this company who has produced the waste and now they have collected it, they will go to this agency and they'll say, sir, this much I have brought, this all is waste, please take it and recycle it. Okay, by giving that, they're going to get this certificate. Okay, so that's how all these things work. This EPR certificate is something that matters to people now, or these companies, they have to take this certificate. Okay, then there's one important principle, that is this polluter pays principle, which I had discussed earlier also, if you remember. Polluter pays. One who has polluted, that person should pay. Not everyone should pay. If you see, the idea behind bringing this extended producer responsibility is that if this producer would not have made this product, we would not have seen this waste. This is the idea. That's why you are the polluter, so you pay for it. Are you getting this point? That's the basic idea behind these rules. Okay? Now, what are the key problems which are being highlighted? Now, these certificates are bought and sold. Okay. Now, when these certificates are bought or sold, sometimes what companies do, either they will pay very less price or they will make bogus fake certificates. That's one major problem. Even when government brought these plastic waste rules, then also similar things were happening. If you ask private company to do something, they'll just make some fake records and they'll just show it that we have done this. So that's a major problem that we observe. Then recycling gap. Whatever recycling we expect, that doesn't happen the way it should happen. In recycling, what we expect, let's say you brought one battery. In that battery, let's say there are some materials which are important. There is some copper, cobalt, some aluminium, whatever it is. It is expected that you at least take those good or important materials out of it. But sometimes it doesn't happen. In reality, when recycling is happening, they don't care much. So they will not take the necessary materials. That is also a problem. And most important problem is these producers. They'll say that you are putting a lot of responsibility on us. First of all, you put this responsibility of collecting. Second, then you're expecting that we have to pay a lot of money also for this. So such resistance is there from these people. Okay, for this government will take some action. We'll see whatever action government takes later on. But just understand that yes, we have these rules and this extended producer responsibility. At least this one thing, please try to remember. Okay. Next, India's pandemic toll remains elusive. Now, this one is not so important article, but just understand what has happened just for the sake of understanding the governance part or what kind of problems we face in terms of governance. So COVID-19 pandemic we faced, everyone knows. So many people died, everyone knows. But when it comes to data, at least when government is looking at policies, at least next time when they have to prepare for any next pandemic, or let's say they have to take some actions, at least they should have the right data with them. How many people died because of COVID, at least they should know. Where more people died, where less people died, then they will understand that some system was good over here, some system was bad over here. Only then they will understand, right? But if they do not have the right data, how come they will know? Right? So you observe, we have something called Civil Registration System, CRS. So it's a system in which all the data related to birth and death in India is officially added. If someone died, if someone has taken birth, everything will be mentioned in this CRS system. Okay, now this system is there with this Ministry of Home Affairs. Under Ministry of Home Affairs, we have Office of Registrar General of India. So if you remember, last time we had discussed about census when I talked about the same agency. Right? Ministry of Home Affairs and Office of Registrar General of India. They carry out the census. Yes? So it's the same agency who is having access to this CRS system. Okay? Don't you think there is relation of census with this birth and death rate? Yes? Now, if you see their data given by CRS, deaths in India in 2019, 2020 and 2021. You see the change in numbers, 81.2 lakh, then 99.8 and 92.4. Now, this data clearly shows that there is a sudden spike over here. And we know why. Because it was COVID year. But if we see the official data from the government side, they say only 5.3 lakh people died because of COVID. Now see the difference. When we see this data given by CRS, how much difference you see? 81 to 99. Somewhere around 18 or 19 lakh, approximately 19 lakh. And see the government data, 5 lakh. Do you see the difference now? 5 lakh versus 19 lakhs. So there's a lot of discrepancy. How are you, if you don't have the right data, how are you going to take the right decisions later on? Okay, that is something they are showing. Now there are so many reasons behind this. One of the reasons, even we all understand what might have happened. Many deaths were never registered, first of all. Many deaths were registered but not with the name of COVID, but because of some other reason. Let's say some people died because of stroke, but nobody is mentioning that this stroke thing happened because of COVID. Right? So when this certificate is given, death certificate, that reason has to be mentioned, and that reason, if not mentioned as COVID as such, then they are not counting it in official data. So many problems are there. Okay? Any doubt? Anyway, they'll not ask in exam, but you should just know. This is a good example. While writing answers, you talk about the governance part or the problems in the governance. One good example we can see. Okay? Now, pollution control boards have power to impose restitutionary damages. Restitutionary damage. Now see, here you should know one thing that we use in the idea of justice, that is restorative justice. Now when we are trying to make justice, sometimes we understand the principle of justice in one dimension. We say that someone has done something, some kind of crime. Let's say you killed someone. What we'll do is, we will kill you. Equal. Yes, you say you have done some kind of fraud of, let's say, 10 lakh rupees. Then government will, what government will do, or judiciary will do, they'll put extra 10 lakh rupees penalty on you. Equal. That's how we look at justice. Now, one of the idea of justice, of which is called as restorative justice, it talks about restoring the things. Restoring in which way? Let's say there is one victim who has suffered because you did some kind of crime. Okay, that person has suffered or is suffering right now. Now we gave you punishment, we put you in jail, we put some kind of fine on you, whatever it is. Is the life of this victim changing? That person is still suffering. Have you brought this person back to his normal life? No. That's what restoration is all about. So restorative justice will say that bring that normal condition back. Let's say a company has been doing pollution. Let's say we take the earlier case of battery and all. Because of a particular company, lot of pollution is taking place. The company is saying we are paying all the tax. Government is putting extra tax on us because we are polluting more. We are paying that also. We are taking that EPR certificate also. Everything we are doing. Now we don't have any liability. But here restorative justice will say no. Did you clean the environment? Did you take back? No. So you can even link this particular article with the earlier one, that extended producer responsibility part. You damage the environment, now you restore it back. Take away all that emission or whatever wrong you have done, take it back, it's your responsibility, and clean this environment. Getting? Yes, at least you're understanding what is restorative justice, the idea of restorative justice, restoring the normalcy. Now, in this case, what Supreme Court is saying, the pollution control boards have power to impose restitutionary damages. So here they are saying to bring restorative justice, pollution control boards, at central level we have CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board. At state level also we have such boards. These boards have power to go for imposing restitutionary damages, or simply we can say these boards can ask these companies to take such action to bring restorative justice. Okay, whatever they want to give directive, they can give, is what Supreme Court is saying. And this they are saying under these acts, Section 33A of Water Prevention Control of Pollution Act 1974, and similar act is there related to the air pollution. Okay, under the provisions of these acts, Supreme Court is saying they have this power. They can give any kind of directive for this idea. And mostly you observe, whenever Supreme Court gives any judgment, they'll focus on that core idea. Like here, it's the restorative justice idea. Sometimes everything is not mentioned in the law. Okay, still that idea might come in. Clear? Any doubt? No doubt? So that's it for today.